colleagues, welcome to my video. In this video I will explain the answer from the task of the Pancasila. In the contents in this video are the function of MPR state system, executive and legislative conflict, judicial independence, and the balance of power in government. Okay, the first one is the function of MPR in the state system. The question is, what is the role of MPR in the Indonesian constitutional system? Analyze how MPR contributes to maintaining democracy and national stability. Okay, so the role of the MPR is Indonesia post-amendment constitutional system following the reform of 1999 and 2002. The People's Consultative Assembly, or MPR, is no longer the supreme state institution or lembaga tertinggi negara that holds absolute popular sovereignty. Instead, it functions as a joint system, bicameral system framework consisting of two distinct legislative bodies, the People Representative Council, or DPR, and the Regional Representative Council, or DPD. Under Article 3 of the 1945 Constitution, the MPR holds specific high-level constitutional authorities, such as amending and enacting constitution, inaugurating the elected president and vice president, impeaching the president and or vice president during their term, strictly following legal verdict from the Constitutional Court or Mahkamah Konstitusi, and a proposal from the DPR. Contribution to democracy and national stability. The MPR contributes to stability and democracy by acting as constitutional anchor rather than managing day-to-day governance or routine lawmaking, which is left to the DPR and the President. The MPR ensures that change to the fundamental rules of the nation require broad consensus. By requiring a high threshold of alignment between the political parties, DPR, and regional representative, or DPD, to alter constitution, it prevents any single political faction from easily rewriting the rules to suit temporary political interest. It's maintaining long-term structural stability while preserving democratic checks. The second one is executive and legislative conflict. The question is, how should the executive and legislative branch work together according to the concept of trias politica? Explain your opinion based on the case. Cooperation under trias politica. The classical trias politica concept by Montesquieu suggests a strict separation of powers. However, modern democratic governance relies on the system of checks and balance, meaning branches are distinct but must interact and co-regulate one another. In a presidential system like Indonesia, executive branch holds the power to implement laws and run in the government, but it cannot operate entirely in vacuum. Major national programs, especially those requiring significant state budget allocation or APBN, or restructuring public policy, especially structurally require parliamentary approval. Analysis of the case: when a president launches a major national program without consulting the parliament, it disrupts the balance of the power. The first half is budgetary control. The legislative branch holds the power of force. A major national program typically requires funding that must be debated and approved within the state budget. Second one is legislate and oversight. The legislature represents the public voice. Bypassing them undermines democratic legitimacy and risk creating unsustainable policies that lack legal banking. To resolve this conflict, executive must present the program to parliament for legislative security, while the legislature should evaluate the program based on public utility and fiscal reality rather than using its veto power to purely as a political weapon. True trias politica is not about total isolation, it's about coordinated accountability. Third one is judicial independence. The question is, why is judicial independence are important in trias political system? Discuss the possible impacts if the judiciary system cannot act independently. So the first one is important in trias politica. Judicial independence is the foundation of the rule of law, Rechtsstaat. In the trias politica framework, while the executive and legislative branches are inherently political, driven by election, parties, and public policy agenda, judiciary must remain entirely apolitical. Its sole allegiance must be to the constitution of the law. Without an independent judiciary, there are no objective mechanisms to resolve dispute between the citizen and the state, to ensure that the other two branches are abide by the constitution. The potential impact on the compromised judiciary. If government officials successfully pressure the court to alter a verdict in a high-profile corruption case, the consequences are severe. The erosion of public trust, which result in the public loses faith in the legal institution, leading to cynicism, lawlessness, and vigilantism. The second one is institutionalism of corruption. So if political figures are shielded from legal consequences, the state's resources are easily plundered, directly harming the economic stability and public welfare. A third one is the rise of authoritarianism. When the executive or legislative branch control the courts, the system shifts from rule of law to rule by law, where legal mechanisms are weaponized against political rivals, where allies enjoy immunity. The fourth one is balance of power in government. The question are, how imbalance among three branches of the government affect the political stability of public administration? Give your analysis based on the concept of res politica. The fourth one is balance of power in government. Question, how can imbalance among the three branches of government affect political stability and public administration? Give your analysis based on the concept of trias politica. The first one is impact on stability and public administration. An imbalance where one branch dominates, other invariably destabilizes the state, even if that dominant branch is the legislature. The imbalance of hyper-legislative dominance is gonna result in frequent political gridlock, that's gonna result in stagnant policies and delayed budget, also in efficient public administration. When the legislative branch holds the excessive power over the executive, governance often descends into parliamentary gridlock. The impacts manifest clearly across two main areas. The first one is administrative stagnation. The executive branch becomes hesitant to execute long-term development strategies because every micro decision is subject to intense political bargaining or threat to censure from the legislature. Public service suffer when the budget and appointments are continuously delayed. The second one is policy ineffectiveness. Law and regulation become the product of messy political compromises rather than objective technical analysis. By the time a policy is negotiated, passed, and amended, it may be outdated or too diluted to solve the actual problem it was meant to address. Trias politica dictates that stability achieved only when the executive has enough independence to administer from the state efficiently. The legislature has enough power to prevent tyranny, and the judiciary has the absolute authority to keep both within legal bounds. Alright, that's everything everyone. Thank you for watching. See you next time.